Select your character. Chimpanzee.
Welcome to End of Lines by Novabox. It's a narrative, visual novel sort of style story. So let's begin. Nora, but mother, you can't give up. Nora glares at me, face rigid with anger. I don't answer straight away. I look through the gap between the hangings. Blinding light strikes the arid ground. Sorry, I cannot go out before nightfall anymore. If I attempt it, I will founder, struck down by the breath of the gins. Well, it's very loud. Sorry. It's very loud. Boop. It's a bit better. I hardly recognise the landscapes of my childhood in this barren wasteland. Our lands have always been arid, but before the oases and a semblance of peace, journeys were always attended by song. This is a reading one, so apologies for my terrible reading. That time has passed long ago. Today the dance of the burning winds is fiercer and fiercer. I hear it like the senses were in the dissonant tins. I know I have no time for falling to melancholy. I have to explain my decision to my daughter. Nora, do you remember the fable, the lion, panther, the tahuri, and the jackal? My question disconcerts her. Her anger abates a little. Yes, mother. So tell me. Respect prevents her from expressing her frustration, but I can almost hear the exasperated growl tries to escape her. It makes me smile. Her fiery tempers always stirred my affection. She recites, the lion, the panther, the tahuri, and the jackal had to share their kill. Jackal offers to do it and makes 4 equal shares, but the lion, unhappy with share, and kills the jackal. Tahuri offers to shout the kill and gives half to the lion. She stops. That was a little too fast, and you forgot the end. The end? When the lion asked Tahuri who taught him the method of sharing, she frowns. Of course she remembers. Tahuri answers it was the blow that killed the jackal that taught him. Tell me, my daughter, would you rather be the jackal or the Tahuri in that story? She shakes her dark mane. I'd prefer to be the lion, of course. Don't you agree, mother? You disappoint me. I prefer the panther. That's the most desirable position, of course. The panther, forgotten by everyone. She may be forgotten, but she does not submit. We have neither the claws nor the fangs of the lion. In any event, power is a curse. Let the others brawl over the scraps. Let us take a small share without fuss and to keep ourselves safe. I beckon to her to come and help me up. She comes immediately, and we take a few steps across the worn rugs that cover the floor. Anyway, it's been a very long while since there were any lions, tahuris, or jackals. That is true, but I have something else on my mind right now. How old is your son, Nora? He'll be 7 next spring. So many years we've passed trying to leave this desert. Yes, mother. How many companions have we lost? She looks away. 21. I stroke her hand. She hides the sorrow, but I know each one of her names is carved in her heart. We cannot continue like this. Our tribe is no more than an exhausted huddle. We're too slow and the heat will kill us in the end. And do you truly believe staying here will save you? We can certainly survive for a few moons. Your task during that time would be to lead the most stalwart among us and more welcoming place. But mother, I don't want to leave you. Listen to me, Nora. I've reached my end of my journey, but you haven't. She tries to interrupt, but I raise my hand for silence. You and Rafik, you'll choose from the volunteers. You, Sailor, and brother Amin will certainly go. You'll also take your son and your husband Camille. Lips getting dry. He'll be your guide to find a better land. Camille, our guide. I allow a few seconds to digest this information. Yes, Nora, you have all the qualities of a great war chief, but to survive in this time needs a panther, not a lion. She nods. I understand, mother. I take her hands. Of course you understand. You didn't choose him by chance after all. Yes, perhaps I've always known. Good, so go and get him. I need to speak to him. They gather everyone together. I'll announce my decisions at nightfall. Breathe. Nora leaves my tent. I sit back down again, waiting for the coming of the gentle-hearted outlander. He's an intensely just man, and he's the only one among us who knows the way of the north. The only one who can navigate amongst the wreckage of the world drift. A few minutes later, he enters, swathed in the blue robe that Nora made for him. Camille's poise has increased these past years. The journey suits him. He comes towards me with deference. I suppose Nora's to explain why I've summoned you. Yes, she has, matriarch. So you agreed to guide the company through the remains of this world. His gaze far away for several seconds. I have no idea what life outside the desert is like now, nor is there any life left. It's true, we've had no contact with the outside for several years. Last we heard, wars and epidemics had struck all the cities. That was more than 10 years ago. There can't be much remaining outside the desert, fear but to find nothing but ruins. He takes a moment to consider. Where should we go, in your opinion? I suggest you return where you came from. Our lands have become uninhabitable. I'm afraid that mine won't be any better, at least not for much longer. Each year the seasons are hotter and drier. Though I have to stop someday. He says nothing but gives a little shrug. Won't it? Well, not necessarily. Explain yourself. There was this theory when I was young. It's called the Venus theory. What is it? As global warming reaches a certain magnitude, there are multiple tipping points which could lead the planet into a path where the climate comes out of control. He pauses, looking for the right words. That's to say, the phenomena triggered by the global warming could continue to add carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, so it would increase. Would continue to add carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, so would keep increasing the warming exponentially, and could do nothing to stop it. The greenhouse effect would become so strong that it would eventually boil the oceans, making all life impossible. I'm silent, shaken, but in spite of myself, this is a apocalyptic vision. I think that's what happened on Venus millions of years ago. The Venus theory. He nods. You believe we're on the same path? On the path to the same thing? I don't know. It's a very striking theory, but I think it's quite unlikely. I encourage you to continue. For what I understand, the climate would be more likely to stabilise when the carbon emissions had ceased. In fact, I believe where we are now. So you're optimistic? Not really, because even if we concede that life on Earth is not in danger, the climate stabilisation will take time, and I don't know what will remain of the human race after the next century. No matter what, life has become impossible here. But other inhabitable places must still exist. I refuse to believe that the 21st century will signal the end of humanity. Still pretty unlikely, saying it's still a decade before the 22nd century. Perhaps we've got some surprises ahead of us. Whatever the case, it's time to see what we can do to adapt to this new world. As you say, we've reached the end of a cycle. One story finishes, another begins. That's the story for you right now. End of lines, certain situations can lead to a change in narrator. Some of your decisions can influence the identity of the next narrator. Most of the choices offered to you favour one of the following archetypes. But controller vibrated. The lion favours a direct approach and confrontation, seeks to arm themselves and strikes first, is suspicious of others, always expects the worst, is ruthless. The panther avoids confrontation, prefers to flee danger, displays doubt, doesn't like to stay in one place, sacrifice themselves for others. The hurry seeks out social interaction, eagerly accumulates wealth, strives to establish exchanges, but manipulate others, prefers a sedentary lifestyle. Choose wisely. It will soon be a year since we left the clan and matriarch behind us. Oh, you look, I see the thing at the top, it's like tipping the scales. It feels like an eternity we've got across lands and seas until we're worn to the bone. Now that we've stopped walking, it's oddly silent. There's no sound but the wind crunches the grains of the sound between our teeth. The sky is red. Or is it? It's so hot that it feels red. When will it stop being blue? And there's a mound of stones. A religious relic. Yeah. A religious relict, probably. The ancient road I guide a little company along used to be travelled by pilgrims. But today I have no use for religion and gods. The only thing that matters to me is our survival, especially that Sam, the only child of the company, my child. I checked the map and trusted me by a poor woman a few weeks ago. She said there was only one road we could still take. This road should take us north to a more welcoming place, toward the land where I was born and left more than 20 years ago. I don't know how much is altered. Everything changes so fast. I hope we find a place fit to live where we can settle in peace. Rafik plates the silence with several groans and he unburdens himself of his pack. He allows himself a mouthful of water, grumbles under his breath before turning to me. I'm dead. Yes, we're all worn out. Rafik gives a small smile. I don't know. Nora doesn't seem to be suffering too much. He jerks his chin at Nora, who'd agreed to marry over 10 years ago. I smile back. Nora never seems to be suffering too much. You forget the day she gave birth to your offspring. The laugh escapes me. I've forgotten nothing. That was precisely the day when I realised she was stronger than you'll ever be, Rafik. Sure, that's right. And in the meantime, it's me who's lugging the equivalent of her weight on my back. I roll my eyes. Don't you get sick of complaining? Never. We should exchange you for the mule when we had the chance. Rafik laughs. That would have been one of the rare rational decisions. My decisions are always perfectly rational. If that was the case, you'd have decided to marry me. Now it's my turn to laugh. Would you have accepted? Of course not. What am I supposed to do with a shrimp like you? And anyway, you're right. Nora's the strongest of us. She'll bury us all. He's well to pull me back to harsh reality with your requests. Good humour's passed like a too light a breeze. No, not at all. Not Sam. He licked my lips again. Yeah. He grips my shoulders kindly and answers with a solemn face, although making me a promise. No, not Sam, of course. We join the others to set up camp. I head towards Inu and Son to help them get settled in. The couple's recently joined us. They've been trying to survive the best they could in the ruins at the edge of the big city. We're fortunate to meet us. We avoid going too near the cities in general. These days, violence and sickness hold the sway there. The path we're following crosses small villages instead, long deserted. Inya and Son wanted to join us. Our life travelling is hard, but I know that is only course. The droughts and heat waves continue to force us to leave our lands and have continued to hit more and more regions. Those rare places where it's still possible to subsist will inevitably disappear. Everywhere we go, there's no choice but to leave. Since I cannot abandon the couple to certain death, I agree they could come with us. They're still young, but they're still courageous and grateful so far. They're gentle, considerate people. Sometimes I get the feeling they're too fragile for its existence. Oh, music. Sam comes over to cling to my leg as I cover a tent to protect us from the heat. I ruffle his hair for affection. Can I drink, Daddy? Yes, of course. I give him my flask. So we're not going to die of thirst, right? Good question. No. Still got reserves, and soon we're going to cross the Null River. There should be water for sure. Come here, I'll show you. Put him on my knee and show him the map. It's a worn old paper scattered with lettering and language I don't understand, but the lines across the surface are still readable. You can still see some landmarks. Some I think I've recognised like a mound of stone that used to shelter a religious symbol. That's what we're camping near today. Sometimes the lines separate and meet, branching decisions soon have to make. We trace the fragile lines with our fingertips as they fade and reappear across the tears and creases on the map, not tears. Sam's small hand and mine discover the possible futures and the tracks that await us. It'll be strewn with pitfalls and pleasant surprises. Probably a bit of both. Whatever the case, these lines guide us towards the hope of a more welcoming land. We cling to that hope, but in truth, we have no idea what we find there at the end of the map, where the lines end. Chapter 1. Wake up. Wake up. Jesus. The noonday sun has shortened the shadows. Towards the horizon, the dazzling, relentless glare draws salt and water to my eyes. Salt and water. I tried to swallow. My throat was like sandpaper. Water is precious. There's not enough. All of a sudden, I think of my father, of his life, of before. Did he know? He leans against the bar as usual. On the bar, double espresso in a disposable cup. Do you know the place played for a few drops of bitter petrol black liquid? As I come through the glass door, he absently swallows another mouthful of coffee. He seems suddenly preoccupied with a tiny stain on the cuff of his new shirt, impeccably ironed, made in the country up the other end of the planet. My throat is dry. There's not enough water. Do you know he waited us? I'm a sort of a wave of disgust, anger. I wait a few seconds on the threshold, trying to calm myself. Yeah. It's me. It's him who sees me. He recognises me. He raises his eyes from the shirt cuff and his gaze meets mine. He smiles at me. I smile bursting with paternal love, unshakable. I lean on the bar next to him. I don't know what to say. I don't know where to begin. What are you doing? For a moment, he doesn't understand. As you can see, I'm having a coffee. He shows me his cup. I don't know if you should read amusement or condescension in the calm, patient voice he uses. This is the day where you were born. I'm going to get a call from your mother soon. Without thinking, he pulls his smartphone into his jacket pocket, places it gently on the bar, as if it was the most precious thing he possessed. I'm a little surprised, for as long as I can recall, my father never owned a smartphone. The phone vibrates furtively, as if it felt we were looking at it. Father automatically looks down at the screen. Should it work with Mum? Actually, I was in a meeting with the client. I've just finished. I've seen something a little early. I allowed myself a quick coffee before going back. That noise in the background. Actually, I was in a meeting with... I keep hearing it every time I go to talk. Actually, I was in a meeting with a client. I just finished, and since I'm a little early, I allowed myself a quick coffee before going back. He throws a furtive glance at his phone. Saying that, the telephone's going to ring soon. Give me the news. I can promise you won't be seeing me again soon. I intend to make most of paternity leave, although I didn't really want a child that much. But come over, my angel. Now that you're here, I can have no regrets. I'd make the same mistakes over and over again, just see you live and grow again. He puts his hand on my shoulder. Procreation is nothing but animal instinct. The words come out of my mouth sharper than I intended. My anger's undiminished. He lets his hand drop limply. We look at each other in silence for a few moments, and at the instant he opens his mouth to answer me, the smartphone vibrates again, more authority this time. Hell, it's the battery. This thing just charges faster and faster. It's the real problem. In my turn, I put my hand on his shoulder and shake him softly. Dad, we're dying. We're dying of hunger and thirst. Your children, your grandchildren. We look at each other deep in the eyes. Come here, I'm sorry, forgive me. He gives me a small, resigned smile. He finishes his coffee in one swallow, replaces the cup on each saucer. I notice the sugar lump, still wrapped in its gaudy paper. Glance over at these blind people, invisible, transparent. Suddenly I realise my father's suit and coffee, his superficial concerns is part of that crowd. I sweep my eyes over the room again. Try to put myself in place of one of these people who truly don't understand what it could be so absurd about serving coffee in a bar as the planet slowly becomes inexorably inhospitable. I know the strength or the wish to get angry, and I know many of them... getting angry as music is. I know many of them did what they could. They did the best, just like my father. I tell myself that maybe, if they start trying to change things sooner, they'll have a chance of success. I turn to my father. Dad! Wake up! Nora, wake up! Hand on my shoulder, firm but gentle. She shakes me softly. I open my eyes. Nora leans over me, her face silhouetted against the red light. Come here, it's time. I sit up wearily. It's well into the afternoon. It'll be soon time to break camp. Nora is already up again, her back turned to me. Take Nora in my arms. It's a simple joy, but one that can... Yeah. I'm slowly getting worse now. It's a simple joy, but one that could be easy to forget. We remain entwined for a few instants, and slowly, reluctantly, we separate. She will go to wait the rest of the company while I assemble meagre possessions. There's not much to assemble. A few warm bags, some basic tools, knife, mallet, ropes, stakes for our tent, and a precious flask, soon empty. I emerge from the tent and go to join Sam beneath the burning late afternoon sun. His gaze is far away. Give all this water I've left to the world to see the world through your eyes, even just for a few moments. To see how different it is to when I see. He seems so calm, peacefully seated in a nest of motley worn fabrics. His little shape silhouetted against the vermilion sky, wavers placidly like a fragile promise. Our eyes meet and a pure fleeting joy lights up on his face. I brush my hand through his hair. He stands up, stretches and rests his head against my chest, all the time watching the horizon. Do we have to leave, Daddy? Yes, my angel, we have to leave. I'm sorry, forgive me. Underlines, you have to organise several camps for your company of travellers. Oh God. Inuo's dipped into our provisions to make a hot meal for the company. At the beginning of each camp, the company uses their resource to feed themselves. The narrator takes stock of resources according to how many characters are in the company. Oh God, this is like, what's it called? Oh, what's that game? Like, it's the 60 seconds thing. You have to try and get all the resource and try and manage it. Our resources are shrinking, but we do have enough to hold out. Currently, the resources and number of people are balanced. If your resources are too scarce, some members of the group may leave the company. Suggest an expedition to explore the surroundings. The rating tells you which characters are exhausted and which cannot participate in the expedition. Have just a quick drink of water. That's better. Inu is exhausted. Sam is exhausted. You must choose which member of the group you're sending an expedition. The characters you choose will have to rest and cannot participate in an expedition next to the camp. At next camp. Warning: a character may be tired for various reasons, even if they haven't been on the last expedition. Ascend Rafik. You cannot other people to the expedition or confirm the group as it is. Launch expedition. I'll go myself. Yeah, let's go to them too. Number of people sent in a state of fatigue determines the amount of resources gathered during the expedition. Expedition finds the riverbed but is dry. Its course has been deviated into the old irrigation tank, which still does contain little water. Team filters and boils the reclaimed water. Resources have been collected or added to revisions. Be aware that certain situations and decisions will not be available if available to you if the balance between your resources and numbers of travellers is unfavourable. Okay. A few months later, everything's packed up. We're ready to leave. The horizon shimmers with vivid, shifting colours from the sinking sun. I contemplate the spectacle as magnificent it is. Strange. Search for some clue that will allow me to predict the weather and waits us the next few hours. The wind has fallen, but this lull may be deceptive. I look over our small company. Upon his fingers short, it's all the travel weary. Inu and Son in particular, who seem at the end of their strength, they're not used to forced marches yet. That will come. They don't like courage. In the meantime, I could offer to share up some weight of their packs among the other travellers. Even Rafik, who carries the heaviest load, looks exhausted. We haven't eaten for several days and it's getting harder and harder to find water. He also seems to be surveying the land, in quest for information is what is coming. His experience is always welcome. Perhaps he's noticed the detail that escaped me. Sam and Nora are chatting. They're still the most unwavering of the company. Nora never seems to suffer, not from the hunger nor the fatigue. And tactically, we all do what we can so Sam is fed in priority. Go with them too. Preparing to show the bulky backpacks, I signal her to wait, watching me impatiently despite their exhaustion. I usually speak to her now because she's French. French is quite good. Some speak Spanish better, but I'm not very comfortable with that language. I'm sorry, we'd take longer breaks as soon as possible. Okay. Thanks for everything you're doing, Camille. We'd probably be dead if it wasn't without your help. Perhaps not. I settle for a shrug on my shoulders. We're going to relieve you of some of your load and share it among the others today. I can tell Sean wants to object, but he reconsiders. And yeah, it's already undoing our backpack. I'll help you. Alright. Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even press anything that one. The others join. When we finished, I lead for our departure. The sky is clear, but I fear that the wind might lift suddenly as it did yesterday. If that's the case, we'll have no one to shelter this dry, rocky road. Rocky trail. That's San Juan de Ortega. We could opt to detour to the south, which would allow us to find an asphalt road, and we'd have more chance of finding shelter going that way. On the other hand, the weather might be clement. It's hard to tell. I guess I'll go for the detour. I would have glanced behind me to check if everyone was ready. I guide the company towards the south. We're walking several hours when the wind picks up. Our progress quickly becomes difficult. We're forced to protect the faces from the dust which stings our cheeks and blinds us. With the sun getting set, it's getting more and more difficult to stay on course. I hope it won't last long, but there's nothing to suggest it won't get worse on the contrary. I turned back to convoy, and he was shouting behind Sohn, who is himself trying to stay upright. They won't get much farther at this pace. I don't regret taking the southern route. The old road is bad condition. We'll have to repair some shoes as soon as possible, but I can always make it out. We already can make out the ruins of former dwellings. If the storm really picks up, we'll have to shelter. This country isn't as welcome as we hoped, but it's still better than where we come from. Yet in the first days, we'd finally landed all the sacrifices we hoped to get here. We'd gained a whisper of hope, not so long ago. Remember, we'd been skirting the coast for several days. Crossing had been a nightmare we'd prepared to forget. We'd been prepared for demanding times, but none of us had expected to overcome such an ordeal. When we finally landed, we were no longer a tribe nor a company, just 4 survivors. I talked to Sam a lot. I made up stories. I wanted to protect him as much as possible from the relentless violence of this world, but I believe it mainly was him who'd helped me. If it hadn't been for him, I would have given up ages ago. Nora, Rafik, and Sam and I wandered along the devastated beaches, the ocean invaded by old coastal villages. Considering the amount of destruction, it hadn't happened gently. Impossible to tell if it was a result of a single devastating tsunami or successive storms, but only ruins remained, and everything led us to believe it wasn't over yet. The sea was calm on our arrival, but the bleak, deserted scenes we crossed prompted us to be careful. Most surprising were the crabs. The beaches were covered. Everywhere they teemed over ruins of flooded buildings. Sometimes we'd been hypnotised by inanimate objects in the distance, and shapes seemed to distort with frantic, grotesque gasping. One day, suddenly, the clouds spread apart and a pale blue sky appeared. I remember it was once more before my eyes. The colours, until then I'd seen missing from the coastal landscape, began to glitter. Sam takes my hand and points to a crab-covered rock nearby. Look, Daddy, they're blue. And yes, in the sun, the crabs are radiant cyan blue, with shades of green on the shell, and the pincers range from orange to scarlet, depending on the specimen. For a long while, we marvelled at the beauty of the scene. Hey, Daddy, do you know why there's so many? Hard to say. At some point, these crabs must have found themselves without predators, and that's why they've been able to reproduce so much. Guess it's linked to the disappearance of the birds. I don't add that they're probably a species of scavengers. Anyway, we know what we're having for dinner. Are we stopping soon? A little bit further, we can make out a shimmer of whitened walls in the half-submerged village. Do you see the ruins over there? Sam nods. Walk as far as there and we'll take a break, okay? As we pass the first wave of beaten, salt-eaten stones of the town, we're surprised to see human figures on some of the roofs. Humans alive. Count about 10 at most. They watch us and moving. They don't seem aggressive, but they still remain on our guard. As we get closer, I realise it's difficult to identify them. The figures are bundled up in shapeless rags. The age is unclear. Is that a child or an old woman I can see there? Perhaps a small boy. It's impossible to tell. It's even more troubling when we notice they're moving away from us as we move forward. So that they maintain a distance which doesn't allow us to glimpse their eyes. It's just the eerie shadows of hollowed sockets. Daddy, why are they backing away? Maybe it's a trap. Do you think? Yes, I'm wondering if they're not waiting for the right moment to pounce on us. Nora smiles. Let them come though. We'll introduce them to Rafik. She jokes of an imposing companion. Rafik's lost much of his magnificence during the crossing. Despite everything, his form still remains impressive. Maybe too impressive, actually. Under gruff exterior, Rafik's always been good with people. He's got a knack for quickly gaining people's trust, and his imposing build makes him rather reassuring. Rafik, do you want to go talk to them? Sure, if I manage to catch one. Choose the one who studied foreign languages while you're at it. Rafik laughed. Maybe we should go instead. No, don't worry, we're joking, Camille. Grasp my shoulder. It'll be fine. Rafik takes a deep breath and advances on the groups with firm tread. Halfway, he makes a friendly gesture towards them. To my surprise, he seems to manage to start a conversation. Rafik puts his backpack at his feet and pulls out several objects. I can't make what they are, but he attracts the attention of others who draw nearer. After a few minutes of discussion, Rafik turns to us and invites them to join him. When we get there, inhabitants have moved away. Looks like that went quite well, did it? Not bad, they're interested in our fabrics. They know how they're dressed, that's not surprising. Yet only the closed doors are down here. He points at the water from which the tallest buildings of the former village emerge. Most of the clothes didn't stand up to the salt water, so they're buck naked, so to speak. I see, did he give them something? I put aside far too much fabric to repair the tent. I figured we could spare it. You did well. Nora doesn't appear to agree. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed the frown of disapproval. We're going to fish out... it's fine. We're going to fish out some more useful stuff anyway. My gaze stops at the church bell tower battered by the waves. Fish? Rafik laughs. Yeah, dive down there and find what we want. Sam was very impressed. Do you want to swim that deep? Me, no, but your father. They turn to look at me. I shrug. Sam's hovering glee. It's the first time he's seen such strong emotions at the crossing. It's impossible to get more few words out of him, even less than a smile, these last 2 days. Seeing his eyes sparking, I can't help feeling a bit relieved. Let's both try. Let's start if we're going to find a good place to dive from. They point out a spot for me. Follow me. We step on the roof edge. The water looks clear at the bottom, clear at the surface, but it's impossible to see the bottom. A woman with stringy white hair brings Rafik an old patched diving mask and a pair of unmatched fins. Some bombards me with questions of how these strange objects while trying to find my best to adjust them to my feet. A woman gives us instructions in Spanish too, rapid for us to comprehend, but our movements allow us to guess where it's doing our search. I begin my exploration. I quickly realise that the fins, crepit as they are, provide crucial advantage. The currents made unpredictable remains of buildings, street fixtures, too chaotic to hope to swim without equipment. After attempting a few dives, I begin to accustom myself, managed to limit my movements to hold my breath longer. The light fades within the depth. I've still got enough visibility to make out the surreal backdrop of a paved undersea road. Wrecks of vehicles remaining have transformed into amphibious shelters. I'm reminded of a time when the seaside resorts were packed with noisy tourists. The bottom is more than 4 meters down, but I don't need to go that far. I try a few openings and windows and doors, try and find a promising spot. I surface to get some air after each attempt. Finally, I set my sights on what looks like an old mini-market. Go back and tell the others. Nora and Sam are waiting for me at the surface. The white-haired woman watches us carefully just from a distance away. We should move forward a few blocks over from the west. I think there's something more interesting. But we have to swim, at least for that roof over there. Alright, but Rafik's gone to look around. I think he's negotiating something with the locals. Should stay here with the bags. Okay, fine. Me, I want to come. Alright, but you have to swim, buddy. Hesitation crossed his face with a fleeting flash. The ocean made him suffer so much during the crossing. It would be a good opportunity to reconcile him. I stopped myself from bursting with joy when he jumps in the water to join me, swimming clumsily. Not bad for a child of the desert. With that speed, he won't get here before tomorrow. It's hard, the wet as waves. There are. Here, grab on here and keep your head out of the water. Nora throws his net. Don't forget to bring back your plunder. I'll end this on the next chapter because I love this. I'm already loving it. It's a lot for me to read, but I'm really enjoying the story. With Sam clinging on my back, I cross 50 metres, which separate us from the closest roof. I get my breath back, and we set up a few dozen metres further on the ruins of a stone tower, clearly dating from the medieval times. The structure scarcely merges out of the water. Sometimes a wave submerges it almost completely. It should be alright for Sam. The mini-market's just underneath. What's a mini-market? It's kind of like a little supermarket. A supermarket? A place where you find a merchant who sells a bit of everything, you know. Oh, a super merchant. Yeah, that's it. Right, I'm going to get careful, and mind you don't get nipped. A few big crabs are roaming over the old stones. The scarlet pincers are formidable. I check a position with a short dive, then I take a few minutes to ready myself. Inhale, exhale. The bottom is more than 5 meters deep here. If I manage to hold on for 2 minutes struggling against the currents, I'll be doing well. Just have to progress in stages. I do a few dives to scout things out. I save some time on the descent by going myself down the wall. Down the tower wall. I quickly spot some few interesting objects. I'm going to bring you some things, Sam. Be ready. Okay, I'm ready. Daddy? Yes. How do you get yourself down pointing down when you go down? At the start, we call that a duck dive. It's a movement which to go head down without using much energy. It's how a duck dives. He looks at me around eyes. I realise he's never seen a duck. It's a bird that swims in the water. Oh yes, do you think there's some left somewhere? Yes, I'm sure. Migrant birds were the first suffered from the brutality of climate change, but even non-domestic ducks weren't really wild anymore in the lands I lived. They usually migrate from one protected nature reserve to another, once or twice a year. Then one year there was uncontrollable virus. To stop it from spreading, they killed all the ducks. The ones left are far away? Yes, pretty far. The haul is good. Bring up a good quantity of canned food, which I hope is still edible, especially the fruits, which you saw lack. I also find some nylon polyester equipment, which you could use for tents, parkas, waterproof capes and shoes. Lastly, you can find a white, watertight first aid kit, almost complete. It's a great find. Sam clings to my neck again as we set off in the chaotic current to rejoin the groups. Having tide does not make the task easier, but crossing the walls of the buildings, I managed to progress little by little. I'm not displeased when Rafik pulls Sam and Well-filled net and me into dry land. After detaching several blue crabs from my clothes, I slowly get my breath back up to the end of the afternoon sun. Rafik himself seems to be dancing with patience. I ask him why. I got to know the locals where you're playing Frogman. They're impressed by your fishing, they're open to do some trading. Something tells me they'll give us crab. Even though I'm not completely reassured, we don't really have any other choice. We're starving, and I know Rafik's nobody's fault. A wave of hot air laden with sand slaps me in the face and recalls me to reality. Dragging me from my memories, the wind's strong now, we're forced to shout to each other. I'm ready to point at the first adequate shelter. Once again, luck seems to be smiling us when I glimpse, through a wave of dust, the outline of a long building, an old hangar or warehouse. A signal to the company, we hurry towards the building. We circle the building and feel we find a way in. The structure must be at least 15 metres long by 7 or 8 wide. Huge silos that backed onto it have long since collapsed. The main door is sealed and we find a side entrance which Rafik managed to force with big knocks on his shoulder. The contrast once inside is striking. Even the clatter of debris on the metal roof seems gentle to us in comparison to the roar of storm. Inyo and Shan claps on the floor as soon as they're through the door. Rafik, do you remember the crabs? Grin sneaks across his face. Yeah, that was a good laugh. The crabs? Inyo and Shan... Sewn? It's got to be sewn. I've got their breath back. They sit on the ground and their backs against the wall. It was a while before we met you, still on the coast. Rafik managed to get invited to a supper by the survivors of the flooded village. They were told that the coast was dangerous. Yes, they couldn't stay there much longer. The ocean is going to keep rising. In any case, the resources are very limited. Those people had almost nothing, but they didn't stop us sharing everything they did have with us. We were lucky, very lucky considering the circumstances. So it was a long time since you danced, Nora. We can thank them for giving a moment of carefree. Mum's a great dancer. Yeah, and after Nora's dance, they'd given us more. Yeah, and after Nora's dance, had given us their mothers. Had musical instruments and wine. It helps, and the soup was good too. They have fresh water, a little. They developed a rudimentary filtration system. I used our resource to improve it, even given most of the fabric stock. I hope it will help them keep the system working a little longer. What they did have was lots of crabs. Oh yes, the crabs. You even tried to bring some live ones in a bucket of water. Yeah, it wasn't a great idea. They didn't last long, poor things. That was a heartbreaker. They even tried to dig through the bottom of the bucket to find some cool. Yeah, that's right, poor creatures. You had to eat them to alleviate your suffering, didn't you? You didn't exactly refuse to eat them either, if I remember right. In any case, that was all thanks to you, Rafik. If you hadn't made contact with those people, we'd never share that meal. What can you do? It's how I am. Way cool. Nora chuckles. It would be way cool if you helped us set up camp. And you and Son aren't ready to get up yet, and Sam's fallen asleep on his pack. Rafik and Nora and I set up what's needed for everyone to rest. All the same, I've often thought that you must have a plan in the back of your head, Rafik. Of course, but you won't like it. Keep talking. If we find another peaceful community after we cross this damn desert, we could set up a trade route between the two. Everyone would be better off, and us, we could, let's say, profit a little. You're right. Oh? I don't like it. I figured. You know very well it won't work. Even if we find other communities, we can't act on changes are going to stop here. The situation's going to keep getting worse. I know, but it's not going to happen in a day. We have a little time to get what we could out of the scam before we get to this split. And a break would do us good, don't you think? And if Sam put him gently in a makeshift bed before answering, I'd like that. But no, we have to keep going further north. Rafik shrugs, resigned. Okay. Suddenly Nora calls us. Looks like something's here. I examined the building floor with renewed interest. At a moment of concern, disconcern, kind of groove in the floor and a kind of groove in the floor, and after clearing a thick layer of dust and rubble, I discovered a crudely forged bolted metal plate, complete with 2 handles. Well spotted, Nora. Rafik and I take position on each side of the hatch. On 3? The plate is unwieldy, but we managed to lift it in just enough to slide it over and clear the opening. The first thing we find is a thick layer of straw, clearly very old. A strange smell of it immediately assails my nostrils. I gesture Rafik to back away. What is that? Cereal? Wheat, maybe? Let's never again. We should ventilate. Help me. Beneath the curious gaze of my companion, I climb up on Rafiq's shoulders to feature a little window high up. After several bangs of intel, it finally yields. Let sand and burning air rush in, almost making me lose my balance. The screaming of wind and deafening thunder of the sand on the sheet metal fill up shelter, but I'd rather that than asphyxiate. Once the room is aired, I go back to handful of grain, examine more closely. Did you find wheat? Is it still good? It's like barley. In fact, it seems fine. I look at the grains and palm my hand. It's not hard not to be moved by the beauty of these fragile little pearls. They store them underground. I nod. It's a very old method, not very well known. It's hard to implement, but I've heard that you could preserve cereals for decades this way. Saying that, I think it would be better to wait a few hours for the gas to escape before checking if it's edible. And you and Stone speak to each other in low voices. Rafiq's already looking for fuel to make a fire, and Nora's already begun to set up camp. Whew. We set up a makeshift camp upwind. Inyo and Stone are talking in low voices. Sam's woken up in top form. Thrilled by our discovery, he can't sleep still. Rafiq and Nora collecting fuel to make a fire. At every camp, I share out rations fairly as possible before checking out on stocks of food, water, and materials. We need to ration our reserves. They won't be sustainable much longer. Let's do expedition. Rafiq is exhausted. I'm exhausted. So Nora and Stone. We wait for the storm to quiet a little before attempting to go out. And there's thunder. Save for a few guests, the wind is almost completely dropped. The night sky is streaked with lightning, but of course not a single drop of rain falls. Plans to go around the barn and spiral, hoping to find something interesting. The expedition finds an old well which looks dried up, but it's worth checking. There's a little damp at the bottom. With some digging, it's possible to bring up some water. On expeditions return, we prepare what's needed to filter and boil it. Prepare camp for the night. I tell myself it's time to have a talk with Anya and Son. Their hushed discussions have ceased since we'd found the cache of barley. I've got some idea what their deliberations concern, even if I haven't got involved up to now. Chapter 2. And I think I'll call it there. I might actually play this for the next few days. I'm really enjoying the story of this one. It's actually really like. I looked in the reviews before, like on Steam. Just like I was out of curiosity, and people saying, "Oh my god," people like saying it's what's the word? It's a Novabox game. It's immediate buy. I was like, okay, is it that good? And yes, it is. I mean, I'm gonna continue it soon. Hopefully, I don't mess up, and hopefully, I keep people alive. But yes, definitely check that out. It's a really fun game. It's End of Lines. Travel across landscapes devastated by catastrophic climate meltdown, following a small family in search of somewhere habitable, with limited supplies and facing potential death at every turn. Your choices decide their fate. Will they manage to settle down? Check it out. Good play now. Thank you for joining today. I hope you enjoyed, and shall see you next time. Bye bye.